Accelerated Math 6-7 students, we are working in Module 4 and we will be working on Lesson 22. And the name of this lesson is called Problems in Mathematical Terms. And you're going to put that in your comp book on a certain page number. I'm turning to our iPad for our notes. And here we go. All right, getting it to focus a little bit. There we go. Make sure everything can be seen. Problems in mathematical terms. So our goal for today. Today we will determine the independent and dependent variables of equations. Okay, now some of you are thinking independent, dependent variables of equations. What that means is independent means that it can stand by itself. It doesn't need any other information or help to understand what it is. Dependent means that the only reason that it exists is because it happened as a result of something else. So dependent variables rely on the independent variable in order for it to work, okay? And so in many problems, for example, if you remember back to that funny problem about Elizabeth and her jewelry, it says that the number of necklaces was the same as the number of bracelets. Well, we would then say that bracelets depend on necklaces. So the bracelets would be the dependent, and the necklaces would be the independent because we already know what the necklaces are, but you have to know the necklaces in order to understand the bracelets. So do you understand what the difference between independent and dependent is? Okay, so our goal. Today we will determine the independent and dependent variables of equations. The question, how do you identify variables in an equation? So I kind of answered that question with the example of Elizabeth's jewelry, but we'll see what we come up with by the end of the lesson. Check this out. Can a basketball team win a game without making any points? The answer is no, absolutely not. You wouldn't have a game if you didn't make points. So we could say the winning depends on the points. So the dependent would be the win or the loss, and then the independent would be the number of points. Okay? Doctors, can a doctor get a paycheck if he or she doesn't go to work? The answer again is no. The paycheck is the dependent, and the independent is when the doctor goes to work or not. Okay? Can you go to college without graduating from high school? The answer again is no, because college entrance or college availability depends on if you have a diploma from high school or a GED. Okay? So going on through those examples, what is the relationship in all of the above scenarios? And hopefully you're able to see that one depends on the other. So we like to call that a cause and effect relationship. Something causes something else to happen. So the cause happens, and then the effect is what comes out. So a cause and effect relationship. So the relationships above is if the doctor goes to work, then he makes the paycheck. If the child graduates from high school, then they get to go to college. If the basketball team scores baskets, then they win the game. Okay, so it's a cause and effect relationship. Everything depends on everything else. So you have independence and dependence. Okay, things to know. And this truly is the end of our notes because the practice problems that you're going to have to work through in class tomorrow are all these scenarios where you have to find what depends on the other. So things to know. Independent variable is a variable that is not the result of something else. It happens whether something happens or not. The biggest, best example I can give you to help you remember the difference between independent and dependent is, let's say, weather. Does the weather ever depend on anything else, or does weather just happen? And the answer to that question is weather just happens. If we don't want it to rain, too bad, it's going to rain. If we don't want it to be hot, too bad, it's going to be hot. So weather is always considered independent because you can't make weather happen. Weather just happens, okay? Another example of this is time. Have you ever wanted the time to stop because you're running out of time and you have to get something done? Or think about a basketball game, or even the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl was running out of time, and the Patriots were able to win because there wasn't enough time to have the Falcons score, right? So time is another example of something that's independent because it keeps going whether we want it to or not. So independent variables are variables that do not result as a matter of something else. Dependent, however, do rely on something else to happen. The dependent variable is the variable that is the result of something else. So a win in a basketball game cannot happen without scoring points. So if you don't score points, you won't win the game. Okay? If you don't go to work, you won't get a paycheck. If you don't eat your dinner, then you won't grow. Okay? So there's a lot of dependent variables that totally cannot exist unless something else happens. So in our problems that we're going to work on tomorrow, because it says problems in mathematical terms, in those problems that we're going to work on tomorrow, you're going to have to decide which one of the things in the word problem depends on the other. And so it's really, really important that you can figure these things out. A lot of times, one of the ways that I am successful with trying to figure out is read it out loud. Talk about it. What depends on something else? If nothing depends, then you know it's the independent. If something depends on something else, then you've figured out which one is the dependent. Okay? So our goal today. Today we will determine the independent and dependent variables of equations, and you will do that in class. And then the question that I want you to think about, how do you identify the variables in the equation? You have to talk about it out loud and see which one relies on the other one, which one is a result because of the other one. Okay? I know there's not a lot of practice in the video today, but I just needed to get the information to you. So we'll do some practice tomorrow in class. All right, my darlings, that's all I have in this video. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.